Bethany Wilson here from Dogger-Sized Dog Training, and I'm here to talk to you about some puppy training. Now, right away, you need to start teaching some basics to your dog. Otherwise, your dog's going to get frustrated, and when they do something wrong, you have no way to redirect them because they don't know anything, all right? So these are one of the first things you're going to teach your dog, which it's a really simple concept. It's place, sit, and then a release word like okay or break. Now, place is just go to your bed or go to your mat. Now, I always mark the good behaviors with a yes or a good. So this is what this video is going to look like. You're going to have your puppy, and you're going to lure with food, preferably start with treats, and if they're doing really good with treats, within just a few short sessions or even right away, you can go ahead and start using their kibble, so they're actually working for their meal. Now, you're going to lure with food and say place, good, sit, good, okay, and okay is their release word. Now, you can use whatever words you want. Some people like to use break for the release word. Sometimes the marker word can be yes or good boy, good girl. And then, of course, you can say go to your mat or go to your bed if you don't want to use place. All right, so those are some of the basic options. Find what works best in your family, but everybody needs to be using the same words, and everyone needs to start off with luring. That is how you teach a puppy, is by luring with food. Don't get me wrong, there are other methods that are sometimes appropriate for certain situations, but this is generally, for most puppies, the way you want to go. All right, let's get started. So even though you can combine place and sit right away, I'm just going to divide them up for you just to make it a little easier. So I lean away from the mat with the food to lure the puppy off, and then right in front of the nose, see, right in front of the nose, I lead the puppy onto the mat, and then I release the treat. I say yes and release the treat. You don't have to say place right away because I don't know what they're doing. So it's yes, and then you release the treat. So it's all luring in the beginning. Once the puppy is doing it regularly, you can start saying place as soon as all four paws get on the mat. So you're applying the word to the action. So it's place, good, release the treat. Again, really watch my body language. Okay, I lean to the side. Now, I'm also using a little bit of leash pressure. You don't have to do that in the beginning if your pup's not good with it yet. But right here, I've got it in slow-mo just so you can see it a little bit better. So it's okay, and I big step to the side, or I can actually walk away if your dog's having trouble with that. Right in front of the nose, place, good, and then I release the treat. Okay, so you're going to want to do that a few times. So if the dog isn't responding to the food, put it right in front of their mouth where they're like, and then start to pull it away gradually as they follow you. And then once you do that a few times, it usually only takes a handful of times, and then you can stop luring so much and then just kind of point to the mat with the treat in your hand. And then that's what I'm going to show next. So as you can see, point to the mat, place, good, release treat. Place, good, release the treat. And then okay, and walk them off. And then you can also do this on the ground too. See, it's the same luring, and see my body's leaning. It's the same thing, except me just on my knees. So you can do that as well. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and show sit. So right in front of the nose, and then up into the air until their little butt hits the ground. And it's the same thing. You don't say sit until the dog's little butt is on the ground. You want to apply the word to the action of what you're doing. So I pull it forward to get him to stand. See, he's trying to get the treat up over the nose. So sit, good, release the treat. And don't worry too much about the jumping. You can filter that out later if they get excited. Good. There was no jumping that time. So after doing this just a few times, you'll notice you don't have to lure quite so much. And see, you just do the hand motion. So it's palm up towards the sky. So it's like you kind of make a duck beak with the treat, and then just up in the air. And then good, release the treat. So this is just another level after they do it a few times with you on the ground right in front of their nose. Try doing it standing up. Good. So the hand motion is just up in the air with the palm facing the ceiling, because down is the opposite. So I lure him out of the sit, or her, this is Lucy, and then up in the air, sit, good, release, treat. After they're doing it consistently, you can try to say sit, but that's going to probably take a few repetitions. So that's just a different angle. And now we're going to use a different pup. So we're going to kind of start all over again, except with a different pup. This pup has a little bit more drive and learns a little bit more quickly. This is truly the first time that he's doing this. And so I'm using the food to lure him off the mat, and he's not really following it, so what I could have done is taken a step, and he would have walked with me, definitely, because the movement is what really counts. Like right there, it's okay, place, good, release, treat. Okay, see, he's following movement. Place, good, release, treat. So it's not just about the food luring, a lot of it's just about body movement. Okay, place, good, release, treat. And it's just this repetition over and over and over. Now I'm just encouraging him to stay in the same position. This is kind of the beginning of stay, because you want them to be able to stay here as long as you ask them before they get their release word. So that's kind of the next phase of this. I don't want to get too advanced, but that's the next phase of this. So it's okay, place, sit, good, okay. Place, sit, good, okay. So notice I'm not treating every single time here. Some dogs get really hyperactive with treats, and I can actually really escalate their behavior. And when that happens, just do a few with body language to kind of settle them back down, and then add the food back in. That's also how you start to filter out food as well. But if you have a hyperactive puppy, the food may be driving them a little nutty, and you need to back off on the food. So right now, but right now you saw that several times in a row, I just treated him, Winston, this is Winston, I just treated 12-week-old Winston several times in a row. Now right there, I even said no. See, he was sniffing. I'm going to show that again. So he gets distracted. And look, I just do a little bit of blocking, no, and he fixes himself in a sit. I didn't even have to lure there. And then I reward with good and a treat. Now you don't always want to pair no and treats together, but this is probably his first blocking correction, truly. And the only way it even worked is because we've done some basic obedience. You can't start telling your dog no before you've done anything that's positive. You can't do it. They'll get frustrated. So here I'm just rewarding him, good, backing away. Reward, good, backing away. So I'm gradually increasing the amount of time he spends on the mat before I give him the okay to get up. Okay, so just a quick clip so you can see some progression. Next day with 13, 14-week-old puppy Lucy. It's okay. Place, good. Okay. Place, good. So just some repetition there for you. This is how they learn, spending 3 to 5 minutes, and then once they hit 12 weeks old or older, 10 to 15 minutes of doing these types of things just over and over and over again, and then you give them a break. So it's a lot of repetitions in a short amount of time. That is how they learn. So here's just a different angle with the sit, good. So notice I'm not treating her for going to her mat anymore. It's place, good, sit, good, then you give the treat, then the release word. Now I wanted to try a few things with her here, even though it's only her second day. Place, sit, good. And now see, I don't have the treat in my hand. I was actually digging around for the treat. before I treated her. That in itself is a step. And then here I'm going to try no hand signal for sit. Place, sit. Good. Yes. Good. And then I give treat. So the reason I'm trying this is just to see if she's understanding the verbal, and she may be or she may not be. It could be just the patterning of the behavior with place. Either way, it just goes to show how quickly she's learning. Okay guys, so I gave you a few tips, on how to accelerate the process. But I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want you to, stick to the basics for a few days before you start worrying about filtering out anything. But I do want to kind of give you a glimpse into the future. Right here is I think day 2 or 3 of having Winston, and we're working on place with distractions. I'm doing dishes while my small dog is running around. And so you can see, even though he pops up here, he doesn't get off his mat. And he's not putting pressure on the leash where he's tethered either. And the tethering is just so I can tell quickly if he pops up. But I say no, sit down. And he does not get a treat because we've been doing this for a few days. He knows, so he just gets reset. I'm not mad about it. It's just no, sit down. But then just look, a few seconds later, I do give him a treat because I'm rewarding him for staying in the same spot. This is the future. This is why you guys need to work on this stuff right away, because in just a few days, you can have an 8-week-old, 10-week-old, 12-week-old puppy, any age is my point, doing this. And see, my hand was covered with bubbles right there. I'm literally doing dishes and then turning the water off, turning around and rewarding him. I have a little cup of his kibble right there. So here he pops up again, and I'm just speeding this up just because you don't need to see it in regular form, but you just need to see how many times I'm coming to him and rewarding him. And I didn't just make him sit here right away. We did warm up, we did place, okay, place, good, okay. We did it repeatedly for probably a good 4 to 5 minutes. Until he was so bored that he just wanted to lay down and wanted to be left alone. So that's kind of the whole point to this process, is that it is a lot of work, but if you put in the work now, you can really see how it's worth it, in the future. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at info@doggersizela.com. Check out my website, doggersizedogtraining.com, if you're local to Los Angeles. And one more quick thing is just to show, you don't just work with one mat. You really want to have some fun with a driven dog like Winston here. Work with several mats. I've got 4 here, and then 1 in the bathroom, and then 1 in the bedroom, 1 in the office, and we went between all of them. That way we could really have some fun. So it was really a matter of place, okay, place, okay, just over and over and over again. And we're also working on having a default down in place. So instead of place meaning sit and stay there, we're now advancing to down and stay there. And then when you really spread your beds apart, you can work on come as well. So it's just a really great opportunity to work with your dog and teach them what you want out of them. Especially in Winston's case here, he was just a very, very jittery, just driven, happy-go-lucky dog that was just really confused and didn't know what to do, and started biting and carrying on even though he's a baby. So this is a perfect example of the type of drills that you do to really get the behavior out of them that you want. That way, in high distraction situations, you can get a much higher level of impulse control than other dogs by doing this type of drilling. Okay, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Make sure you subscribe. If you have any more puppy questions, check out the YouTube channel. There's a playlist of puppy videos with all sorts of info.